Alright, listen my friends, we are between sets right now. Spoilers for Foundations are coming out hot. So let's take a look at old Nicky G's pet deck, Belbe, Corrupted Observer. Now Belbe is kind of a fascinating character. I remember seeing this spoiled, refreshed myself with the lore, and knew I had to build this thing. It's so deceptively powerful. I think most people skip this card, and that's a mistake, dude. Underestimate Belbe at your own peril, brother. Check out this lore, man. Belbe was a cyborg, made from a fusion of Phyrexian technology and the body of an elven princess, Eladamri's daughter Avila. She had pale skin, bluish splotches, black attire. You know, she's a real goth out there. Her purpose for existing was to choose the new Evancar of Wrath or become one. After the presumed death of Volrath in Mercadia, she was given her name and function by Abcal Dro, a member of Yawgmoth's inner circle. So basically Yawgmoth, the best villain in the MTG continuity, hollowed out Eladamri's daughter, made her into his eyes and ears, a Phyrexian cyborg. Now of course people pick commanders for lots of different reasons. Nobody knows what those reasons could possibly be. No one must ever know. Just kidding, dude. Just having a little fun here, man. Belbe, Corrupted Observer, black and a green, legendary creature, Phyrexian zombie elf. It's a 2/2. At the beginning of each post-combat main phase, the active player adds colorless for each of your opponents who lost life this turn. Damage causes loss of life. Those who wish to become the Evancar must first cast off the shackles of compassion. That's the philosophy of this deck in a nutshell. So the big downside here is that you might be ramping your opponents. Most decks aren't built to take advantage of this. They usually want to damage opponents, so if they can damage themselves and your other two opponents, they get that 6 mana. It's a very real risk for running this thing. It's the downside. But obviously the Belbe deck is the purpose built to take advantage of this. See, check this out, man. Belbe is obviously coming out on turn 2, but we have these little 1-drops that deal damage to all of our opponents or make them lose life. Like this guy, the Vicious Conquistador. So this guy's 1 black mana, creature vampire soldier. It's a 1/2. Whenever this guy attacks, each opponent loses 1 life. So this guy comes down turn 1, right? Turn 2, play your land, get Belbe out there, attack with this idiot. Second main phase, you're adding 6 damn mana. So what can we do with 6 colorless mana? Well, 6 mana happens to be a real sweet spot for colorless creatures. Like this guy, the Worm Coil Engine. I mean, come on, man. It's worms coming out of other worms. You got worms. No? Well, now you do, dude. So a turn 2 Worm Coil Engine is not bad, man. But have you ever seen this monster? The God Pharaoh statue. So this is 6 generic mana. Legendary artifact. Spells your opponent's cast cost 2 more to cast. At the beginning of your end step, each opponent loses 1 life. This plays in the life loss and the Staxy nature, kind of negates that mana advantage that Belbe can grant your opponents. Now this is 5 mana, but a great value piece, the Wandering Archaic. It's an avatar 4/4. Whenever an opponent casts an instant or sorcery spell, they may pay 2. If they don't, you may copy that spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. This guy's flying the path of the 9 birds, and I fly the path of the 9 turds, brother. Absolutely fascinating card that has some nonsense on the back. You know, great card in a commander game. Now you can also lean into some interesting mana rocks like Coveted Jewel, Dreamstone Hedron. Once you get these out, you have access to even more mana. The deck tends to turn into a Golgari big mana deck. Now turn 3. Now this is turn 3, man. You have some wacky things that can happen. Most decks are just getting set up at this point in the game, but you're going to have access to 3 lands, maybe that big mana rock out there, 3 mana, and your 6 mana from Belbe. Let me crunch the damn numbers here, but that's 12 mana. I've had this happen before, believe it or not, but casting a Torment of Hailfire with X equal to 10 on turn 3 can be pretty depressing for your opponents. But listen, man, you have to cast off the shackles of compassion. No compassion for you or any of your foes. That's what it means to be the Evancar of Wrath. Whatever the heck that means. Now, of course, Belbe is a zombie and an elf and a Phyrexian. That can be used to our advantage. Elves usually require a larger number for payoffs, but zombies have some interesting cards we can utilize. How about the Graveborn Muse out there? 2 black, creature zombie spirit. It's a 3/3. At the beginning of your upkeep, you draw X cards, you lose X life, where X is the number of zombies you control. There are a couple incidental zombies in the deck, about 7 or so. The problem with this card in zombie decks is that you draw lots of cards and then kill yourself. You also have this little fella, the Shepherd of Rot. So this guy is 1 and a black, creature zombie cleric, it's a 1/1, has tap, each player loses 1 life for each zombie on the battlefield. Love the art on this thing, plays right into our desire to drain life. You gotta drain that life to win, dude. If your opponents have more life than you at the end of the game, you're not gonna win. And you got other zombies. Gray Merchant is out there gaining and draining. He's a fantastic card, but you have this Loyal Subordinate. 2 and a black, creature zombie. It's a 3/1 with menace. Has Lieutenant. At the beginning of combat on your turn, if you control your commander, each opponent loses 3 life. Now zombies work best when they're fed appropriately, so it's prudent to let them eat on the job. This fella's such a monster. You have this old art with Liliana just bossing this dude around. What a lucky guy. So if draining life is the name of the game, we have this little classic card, Wound Reflection. At the beginning of each end step, each opponent loses life equal to the life they lost this turn, and damage causes loss of life. Get this out early with Belbe, get all that delicious damage stacked up. Now I do have some spiky cards in there, but I've had this deck for a long time. You know, what kind of makes me love this deck is these little pet cards. Cards I love but fit nowhere else. Like this guy, Spawn of Mayhem, 2 black creature demon. It's a 4/4, has Spectacle for 1 and a black. Cast it for its spectacle cost rather than its mana cost if an opponent lost life this turn. Saves you 1 mana. Big deal. Has flying and trample. At the beginning of your upkeep, Spawn of Mayhem deals 1 damage to each player. There you go, man. Then if you have 10 or less life, put a +1/+1 counter on this guy. I just like his style, man. He doesn't let the fact that he's got a weird face get in the way of getting out there to the club and talking with the ladies. You know, that's what life is all about, man. Even if you're a demon, you gotta get out there and talk to the ladies. Plus, you can easily get that spectacle cost and continue draining. Check this guy out, the Cityscape Leveler, 8 generic mana, artifact creature construct. It's an 8/8 with trample. When you cast this spell, and whenever Cityscape Leveler attacks, destroy up to 1 target non-land permanent. Its controller creates a tapped Power Stone token, has Unearth for 8. This thing's such a monster, man. I remember when this was printed. Snagged a copy, shot right up in price. Figured people would love this card. It's great in Commander. You also have this guy, the Ancient Stone Idol, 10 generic mana, artifact creature for a 12/12 with flash and trample. Costs 1 less to cast for each attacking creature. When this guy dies, create a 6/12 colorless construct artifact creature token with trample. Big chunky fella getting ready to trounce over your foes, dude. Then afterwards, you get to roll his head down a hill, Indiana Jones style. Belbe also subtly encourages your opponents to attack each other. That's 2 mana or 4 mana ramp. It's pretty huge for them, man. It's in character too. She watches as these pawns destroy each other. In that vein, there are some demons you can run out that you can easily ramp out with Belbe, like Sword of Discord. 4 black creature demon. It's a 6/6, has flying. As it enters, choose 2 players. Whenever damage is dealt to one of those guys, the other chosen player also loses that much life. This is one of those big stupid commander cards. I think black decks should just run stuff like this, man. Remember though, damage isn't loss of life. So stuff like Creeping Bloodsucker will trigger the Sower, but Mardu Shadow Spirit would not trigger the Sower. But the real big beef out there is this fella, Archfiend of Despair. 6 black creature demon. It's a 6/6 with flying. Your opponents can't gain life. At the beginning of each end step, each opponent loses life equal to that life that player lost this turn. Damage causes loss of life. So this is basically a big old Wound Reflection on a demon body. And of course, I also have some Titans in there. Eldrazi Titans, man. Over the years, I picked up some Kozileks and some Ulamogs when they were cheap. I know. Don't jump down my throat, dude. It's a bit spiky. Sometimes I get spiky out there, man. But you know what? I don't have too many tutors in this deck. A couple here and there. But I do have ways to draw lots of cards. And listen, that's the point, dude. You can have a couple spiky decks. I just let people know, you know. This one is a little spiky, I say to them. Honestly, I've never won a game with this deck despite the fact that it's a little spiky. You tend to draw a lot of aggro early. Hey, listen, man, win or lose, it's a really fun deck. Very impactful, makes for quick games, man. And you can check it out in the description. I haven't updated it in a while. Might be some cards I gotta add out there, but you guys can let me know in the comments. Somebody on the Discord wanted me to do a video on a pet deck of mine, and this is it, man. It was kind of a challenge, you know, drilling down, making this commander work. I first looked at it, I was like, this isn't gonna work, man. I didn't think it would be powerful, but after a while it morphed into a very cutthroat monster. Fantastic commander, the flavor is spot on. Hope you enjoyed this little jaunt out there. Thanks to the patrons, the many patrons, and the subscribers, and the members, and all you guys out there in the Discord. Nikki G, Better Commander, signing off.